Is your privacy for sale? Hello again, I'm Warren Olney, and this is Which Way LA, KCRW's ongoing series on the issues Southern Californians care about. Law enforcement officials say identity theft is America's fastest growing crime, but in the age of the Internet, is privacy possible? First up, Bruce Robertson. He's founder of Tristar, which is a private investigation firm. Glad to have you, Bruce Robertson.
Thank you, Warren.
Tell us, if you will, how you use these databases. You, of course, are against any restrictions on their use that we don't have already.
Well, we use these databases to locate people, to conduct asset investigations, and to prevent fraud.
What about, though, the possibility of misuse, particularly given the enormous size of these databases and the very extensive access that there seems to be to them?
We don't, private investigators don't think it's a good thing to have this type of data just going out without any checks to the public at large. So I think there may be a misconception that private investigators are in favor of widespread dissemination of Social Security numbers and things like this.
On the other hand, private investigators could be working for people who are mad at you for some reason, don't necessarily have a legitimate reason for knowing all about you. I believe it was Justice Brandeis who said that one of the great freedoms that we have in this country is the freedom to be left alone. What about that?
We do have the freedom to be left alone, and we also have the freedom to have our records be private, our credit reports, our medical records. But there's no absolute right to hide or to not be found. 100 years ago, Warren, if someone was in the community that was committing fraud or something like that, the community knew where they lived. They could go to them and confront them. Today, in our society, people live so far apart, you can conduct commerce by telephone or by postal drops. And there's a real need for the private sector to be able to identify where people are, people who are committing fraud, and find them and hold them responsible for it. So things have changed, and we do have a right to privacy, but you don't necessarily have a right to hide.
Let me go back to Bruce Robertson of Tristar, a private investigation firm. Do these kinds of restrictions interfere with what you think are legitimate uses of information, or are these things you can live with?
If we can't look at public records to know who owns property that may have dealings with the city that a politician might be voting on, then we are going to have a problem where we cannot self-regulate society and keep our democracy free. Private investigators provide a real service because police can't work on cases such as where you have missing persons or where someone has perpetrated fraud on you and you need to find out where they are to serve them with a lawsuit, things like that. And if we don't have the private sector with the ability to regulate fraud, then all society is going to pay.
Okay, but I'll get on to that issue, particularly about the politicians, but...